In the game Sid Meier's Civilization 6, you can play as the leader of any number of major civilizations from world history, but they also wanted to include cities from underdog nations that are too small and insignificant to be playable countries in the eyes of Firaxis. Their words, not mine. So they included non-playable single-city entities that you can conquer and trade with called city-states. The only problem is that nobody in the entire world knows what or where these cities are in the real world. Brazil? Egypt? China? Yep, easy. Preslav, Yerevan, Toronto? I don't think these are even real places. So let's talk about where some of these are and why they have the bonus abilities that they do. Also, to keep things brief, let's only talk about the yellow city-states today, the economic ones, trade states, gold towns, money men. Starting in alphabetical order, we have Antioch. At the risk of oversimplifying things, when Alexander the Great died, all of his conquered territory was split up among his generals. Seleucus, this guy, won the territory of Syria and founded a few cities there, this one becoming the capital. Then it was also conquered by Rome later and eventually fell by the wayside around the Middle Ages. I mention all of this because I don't know where to say the city was. Syria? Macedonia? Seleucia? Rome? Oh, and it's in Turkey now, near a city called Antalya, so, you know, let's call it an ancient Turkish city, even though that's 100% incorrect. It was a major ancient city, though, in faith as well as trade. In fact, it's sometimes called the cradle of Christianity because it's where the first ever Gentile, not Jewish, church was founded, and the place where the word Christianity was invented to presumably describe the apostles of Jesus Christ that presumably came to say, Jews, please stop. But this is an economic city-state in the game, and if you become their best friend, all of your trade routes get +1 gold for every luxury resource at the cities they're going to. Why? Well, Antioch was basically at the gateway to the Western world, so they benefited tremendously from the ancient spice trade and Silk Road. I see the logic. Silk? You're welcome. Then we have Amsterdam, which, okay, you've probably heard of. Dikes and dams, wooden shoes, and a language that sounds like busted up German. But why the ability to get +1 gold for every luxury resource their traders go to? Wait, exactly like Antioch. Well, you may or may not know that they used to be the world's wealthiest city in the 1600s and continue to be one of the most important port cities in Europe, but also because they traded far and wide, well beyond what anyone could have expected of them at the time. I'm talking North America, Africa, and especially far away, the Far East. I mean, it's right in the name. They were even so good at trading that the Japanese only traded with them during their period of isolation when they wouldn't let any other foreigners into the country. Good thing, too, because that'd be a very long way to go just to turn around. Bandar Brunei is a weird one. Brunei is a little tiny baby country located right here, all swallowed up by Malaysia. But reading about its history didn't give me much of a clue about why it has the ability that it does. A quick fact or two though, the capital of Brunei is actually called Bandar Seri Begawan, but the developers decided to call it by its historical name, Bandar Brunei, for some reason. They used to be a British territory, who wasn't, and they're actually still a full-on monarchy with a legal system that's half English law, half Sharia law. No, I won't explain further. In-game, their ability is, if you have established a trading post in a foreign city, your traders get +1 gold for going to or passing through it. The worst ability in the game, yes, but that's not what we're talking about. I believe the reason for this ability is because in real life, Brunei's economy is propped up on petroleum and natural gas exports. So yeah, I guess in real life it's beneficial to maintain business relationships with the same nations, especially if your main export is gas? What? Ooh, Cahokia. I have no idea how famous this one is, but I'm here to tell you, it's rad. Located in Illinois, the United States, Cahokia was the largest city in pre-colonial North America, north of Mexico. At times, its population was even higher than that of London's at the same time, and it's considered one of the richest archaeological sites in the entire US for many reasons, the mounds included. Many cultures in North America are what were called mound builders, but Cahokia boasts the biggest and best known to the modern record. And they were usually used as burial sites or places of worship, but also as status symbols, as their social hierarchy was very developed, and presumably the bigger the mound your house was on, the cooler you were. Or something, you know what I mean. So in-game, Cahokia grants the ability to build mound improvements on tiles that provide +1 housing, makes sense, +1 food if it has 2 adjacent districts, I like it, suggests the mounds were meant to be incorporated in urban areas, which is true, +1 amenity, which burial sites definitely do make people feel good, you know, as opposed to having no burial sites, and they also provide +3 gold. Huh. I think this one is because Cahokia was made up of many different people groups, and some artifacts suggest trade had been going on with civilizations as far away as Mexico. So, money! Hunza is surprisingly difficult to research. That's the one single individual, only bad thing about conquest is that it can obscure rich and fascinating histories due to the unnecessary destruction of culture. But the easy part was finding out that it was the capital of the Muscat people in modern-day Tunya, Colombia. But the hard part is figuring out why the frick their ability is +1 gold for every 5 tiles a trade route travels. I mean, I'm sure they did trade and everything, possibly over long distances, but the more interesting aspect of their society to me is that they had a ton of valuable resources. I mean, they had mines for copper, coal, salt, emeralds, gold. So much gold that the Spanish were like, "Where's your El Dorado?" And they were like, "I do not know. Look, I made a sculpture." But it doesn't stop there. They had cultivated fruit and cocoa, which are already resources in the game, so I propose we change their ability to give +2 or 3 gold to all mines and plantations over luxury resources. And if Firaxis does it, I demand to be hired as lead game designer in Civilization 7. The main new feature I'll be implementing is wonders and civilizations that have heavy drawbacks as well as heavier strengths to create more distinct and overpowered playstyles that, because everyone is overpowered and vulnerable in some way or another, it balances out, and my mom can play the game and finally tell me I did a good job. Jakarta. Same ability as Bandar Brunei, with the whole gold for going through cities where you built trading posts, blah blah blah. But this one is located right here and serves as the capital of Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world and second largest city in the world, period, if you count its metro population. The economics of this one might make a bit more sense too, because Jakarta was one of the biggest ports in the spice trade. Oh my god, it's all connected. Spice trade, Dutch traders, wow, Earth. But Jakarta remains huge in the world economy, these days just as notable for its banking and financial skills as well as its spice exports. Lisbon, capital of Portugal, where your trader units are immune to being plundered on water tiles. This bastard of a city, just kidding, is one of the oldest cities in the world, the only older city in Europe being Athens. They also love the water, enough to colonize Brazil, become the first Europeans to sail to India, and win the Punic Wars against Carthage and secure trade routes with Rome. That's probably why they got that no hurting their trade boats ability. But because I can't let that be all I say about Lisbon, hey look, some of the most devastating earthquakes in European history happened here. Over 100,000 people dead, priceless art and architecture lost forever, and centuries of reconstruction projects costing billions. Maybe this is why Spain never invaded. Mogadishu. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Capital of Somalia, where your trader units are also immune to being plundered on water. I didn't plan this really is in alphabetical order. One of the most prominent ancient trading cities on the eastern coast of Africa, this city gained prosperity by becoming the next best alternative to trading in the Middle East. You see, India wanted in on the whole money and cultural exchange business going on over here, but Rome and the Arabs were like, no, get out of here, our money. Money, money, money. So the Indians had to go south, just below the Horn of Africa to find a different city that was willing to be their gateway. Mogadishu was that city. This also allowed Somali traders to go up and get goods from Persia, Egypt, and Rome, and to trade those with Indians that weren't able to acquire those goods directly. So maybe their in-game traders are unplunderable because it's like the traders are given the power of circumventing potential enemies. Very creative. Oh man! Is the country that Muscat is the capital of. Located at just the right spot to be a major port for the entire Middle East means that it's also been at just the right spot to get conquered many different times, mainly by the Portuguese and Arabs. Yet they hung on and eventually snatched that sweet, sweet independence that all conquered peoples desire. Despite all that though, I cannot find anything to do with a special kind of economic system, district, or building that would suggest +1 amenity in all commercial hubs would be a good ability for them. So I'll assume that's the ability they were given based on the idea that their love of money gives them life and sustained them all those years. Nice, Firaxis. Here's a country you haven't thought much about in your entire life. Uzbekistan. Interestingly, Samarkand isn't the capital though, just another one of those cities that's been passed around and destroyed over and over again through history. Uh-oh, I'm gonna say it again. Silk Road. But don't worry, this is at least a good climax to the discussion about the Silk Road because it was smack dab along the path from China to the Mediterranean and was one of the most diverse cities in the world at the time, with residents from China, Greece, Persia, and more, also requiring it to have an impressive level of religious tolerance to boot. Somewhere you would have seen all these people groups gathering was within the magnificent domed bazaars that look exactly how you would expect an old Mid-Eastern bazaar to look like. Ooh, so cultural. These domes are the unique structure that Samarkand allows you to build in the game, providing +2 gold and +1 for every 2 adjacent luxury resources, and +1 gold for every dome built in the city you're sending your trade routes from. Makes sense. Ah, another city we've all heard of. Venice. Venice. One of the wealthiest and most artistically significant cities in European and world history, much of its wealth migrated to Venice at the fall of the Roman Empire when wealthy families didn't want to lose their cash money and dollar bills to the Germanic and Hun invaders, so they went down to Florida. I mean up to Venice, where the taxes were low and the government was transparently corrupt in their favor. I mean where it was hard to invade because the whole goddamn city is barely above water. Some lucky circumstances regarding the fall of their neighbors meant they were also able to capitalize on nearly exclusive trade with the Arabs, so they just got richer and they just kept getting better at painting. Wow. So, +1 gold for luxury resources at the destination, like those other guys. And finally we come to the 12th and final city-state in Sid Meier's Civilization 6, a 9-syllable game title, Zanzibar. An old city on an even older island, obviously, in Tanzania. Zanzibar is the most important port to and from the so-called Spice Islands. Oh, and if there's anyone that loves cloves, vanilla, nutmeg, and cinnamon, you just know it's Portugal. Wait, yep. Upon Portugal's discovery of Zanzibar in the late 1400s, they immediately proceeded to pull the classic school bully move of, give me your goddamn lunch money or I'll kick you in the bing bongs. So, they did. And Portugal profited for almost 200 years, profiting off of slave labor until the British came around to say, this is disgusting. Where's our cut? And traded possession of the island until eventually the Zanzibarians got their independence and joined Tanzania in the 1960s. +6 cinnamon and +6 cloves if you're their best friend. Anyway, I usually make short videos about world cultures and history, so if you guys want more of that, about civilization or any other video games or movies, just let me know. Bye-bye.